Alice Cooper and Slash. In 2008, Alice Cooper released the album Along Came a Spider, and he invited Slash for one song. Of course, who else? Together, they recorded the song Vengeance Is Mine. Slash's fast, intimidating, and original game perfectly fits into the band's style. It turned out very cool. Jimmy Page and Taylor Hawkins. In the summer of 2008, two bands joined on stage, Led Zeppelin and Foo Fighters. John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page played Ramble On with Grohl on vocals and Hawkins on drums, and then they switched places and Taylor sang Rock and Roll, and Dave sat down to set up. What Page says, "I've seen and heard Taylor play drums many times. He shone with his powerful role in the band. It was so nice to play with him. I really admired him. He was a brilliant musician. His technique, his energy, and lively enthusiasm." Bon Jovi and Pink. In 2021, Bon Jovi presented the Icon Award to Pink at the annual Billboard Music Awards and said of her, "I deeply respect her artistry and her ever-growing legacy. When I first heard Pink perform, I was stunned. She had it all: talent, energy, a message in her songs, and a stage presence that only the greats have." He also told a funny story. "One day when we met, she said that when she was 7 years old, she was head over heels in love with me. And when she found out that I got married, her heart broke. Well, I felt sad and sorry for her. So I sent her a huge bouquet and a pair of my leather pants with a note saying, 'Now you can finally get into my pants.'" Pink added, laughing, that after learning about the wedding, she did not leave the room for almost a week. "I was 8. I tore your poster off the wall and replaced you with Sebastian Bach. I'm glad you found love, but you broke my heart. But I accept that as an apology." George Harrison and Bob Dylan. These two musicians did not always understand and appreciated each other's creative process as well, but despite this, they were still inspired by each other. Dylan's words about the former Beatle. George had an uncanny ability to just play chords that seemed unrelated and come up with a melody and a song. "I do not know anyone who could do this either. He was a gigantic, great, magnificent soul, with all his humanity, all his wit and humor, all his wisdom, spirituality, common sense of a real person, and compassion for people. He gave love and was very strong. He was like the sun, the flowers, and the moon, and we miss him very much. The world has become much more empty without him." Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones. The magical Quincy Jones worked with Michael as a producer, and together they created albums such as Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. I think he did a perfect job and helped Michael try out different pop influences and achieve even more with these albums. Now Quincy does not speak well of him, saying that Jackson stole some songs, did not pay the musicians extra, and did other similar things. Well, I think we can believe his words, knowing at least about the incident with McCartney and the purchase of some songs from the Beatles' catalog. Roger Taylor, Brian May, Pete Townsend, and Paul Rodgers. Queen's guitarist's words of admiration for The Who's guitarist. "We, Queen, wanted to send people into the stratosphere. It's always been like this with us. We were inspired to do this by our heroes, and I would put The Who at the top of this list." Pete Townsend is a master of mood swings, a master of the suspended chord. "I owe him so much." Pete Townsend is the god of guitar, and always will be. I've seen him just stand there and let the guitar come to life on its own. Paul McCartney, Noel Gallagher, Paul Weller, and Johnny Depp. In the fall of 1995, this talented trio got together to record the Beatles song Come Together for the Help album to raise funds for the charity organization War Child, which provided assistance to war-affected regions such as Bosnia and Herzegovina. It turned out to be very interesting. You can listen and to watch the video at the same time. Linda McCartney, Kate Moss, and Johnny Depp were also present on the recording. Paul and Linda McCartney and Jeff Buckley. In the summer of 1995, Buckley performed in New York, and the famous Beatle and his wife came to his concert. After the concert, they wanted to meet the talented Jeff and found themselves at his dressing room. Mary Keir, the photographer and author of these photos, recalls, "I remember Linda saying that she knew his father Tim and even took some photos of him. I remember looking at Jeff and realizing that he was trying to act normal, but his eyes were very charged, as if he couldn't believe that all this was really happening. Well, I don't think anyone could believe that Sir Paul came to his concert. Lenny Kravitz and Iggy Pop performed at the 1998 MTV Fashion Awards, singing David Bowie's song, Rebel Rebel. Tight t-shirts and jeans, jewelry, a bright saxophone, energetic dancing by both musicians. It turned out spectacularly, and surprisingly, their duet turned out to be a good one. David Bowie and Lenny Kravitz. Kravitz can do more than cover Bowie. Actually, they know each other and even work together. It resulted in the song Buddha of Suburbia from David's album of the same name. By the way, it was recorded specifically for the series, again with the same name. For one artist or another, this song is very unusual and different from their usual compositions, but it still sounds great. The album with this song was a commercial failure, which is a pity. It sounds very open and free. Michael Jackson and Madonna. This is the first meeting of the young future king and queen of pop music. When they were 20, they had the same manager, Freddie Dimon, who introduced them. Since then, they talked, and in 1991 they went to the Academy Awards together, kissed in front of everyone, and everyone realized that they were dating. But their relationship didn't last that long. Jackson said that she's a nasty witch and definitely not the nicest person. Well, I think it's for the best. Madonna probably got him into something bad. Phil Collins and Robert Plant. The words of frontman Led Zeppelin. Phil Collins is that wonderful man who supported me very much and helped me at the very beginning of my life after John Bonham. Listen to exactly how. In the late 80s, I had nowhere to go. Led Zeppelin is over. Bonham left. That's why I formed the Honeydrippers. We performed in clubs in England for free, and I played with such a great band. The driver of our van, his name was Big Dave, used to come to the front door of the club and ask, "Who's playing here tonight?" And if anyone mentioned me, we just drove on. We only wanted to hear the Honeydrippers, not Robert Plant, so that we could only play our own material. It was the first time I was away from the Zeppelins. I really didn't realize how much patience and concentration it really took in the studio to get people playing and performing, because the Zeppelins seemed to assemble and create themselves somehow, in some simple magical way. And now it was a real new twist. I had to bluff a lot because I didn't know studio etiquette after all that success with Led Zeppelin. I've never even sat at a desk, meaning at a mixing console, except maybe to enhance the vocal effects on Zeppelin tracks a little. Phil Collins, who was next to me, helped me superbly, just came up and said, "John Bonham has probably been the biggest influence on me in my life. I'll sit on this stool for you." We had a lot of fun. Then he went on tour with us. He said, "I can do this for a month." Every night on the bus, he punished everyone for playing too slowly and forced them to practice again. This is the story of how Phil Collins sacrificed his career a little for Plant to help him enter a new musical stage. David Bowie and Trent Reznor, 1997. Well, Bowie doesn't need to be introduced, everyone knows him for sure, but I'll say about Reznor, this is the frontman of the band 9 Inch Nails. In 1995, they teamed up for a joint tour. David released the album Outside, and 9 Inch Nails released The Downward Spirit. How did this happen? They are completely different, you may ask. I'll tell you now. Bowie happened to see their music video on MTV. He liked it and became more interested in the band's work. David, I've always loved doing something unusual on stage, creating a kind of adventure. So I called the managers of NIN and suggested the idea of going on tour together. Trent agreed, but on the condition that it would last no more than 6 weeks, because they had already been on tour for about a year and were very tired. The concerts were held in the style of a 2-act play. First, NIN performed, then they performed several songs with Bowie, and Starman himself filled in the ending. A few more of his words. It was absolutely cool, like yin and yang, a situation of opposites. Trent is a minimalist in the way he structures his material, and my things tend to overlap and conceptually resemble the texture of things more. So musically it's almost like a 2-act piece. I do not know of any similar tour, and I do not know if you will see another one like it. Despite the difference in everything, the musicians got along very well and began to communicate well. Later, Reznor remixed Bowie's single, The Heart's Filthy Lesson, and also slightly reworked his single, I'm Afraid of Americans. The joint photos are just the backstage of the video for this song. It turned out to be unusual, listen. Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen. On the recording of the song, We Are the World in 1985. By the way, This song became the first multi-platinum and fastest-selling single in the history of U.S. pop music. By the end of 1987, the USA for Africa Charitable Foundation had received funds in the amount of $91 million, 54 of which were received from sales of the single. John Lennon and Elton John, 1974. In 1974, the former Beatle released the song, Whatever Gets You Through the Night, which became the only solo single to top the main American Billboard Hot 100 chart during his lifetime. The piano in this song was played by Elton John, who bet that the song would definitely be the first on the chart, but Lennon wasn't so sure. But in vain, that's why I lost. The loser had to perform at a concert with Elton at Madison Square Garden. In a recent interview, Elton John shared his impressions. It was one of the most magical moments of my life. The memory of how he came on stage and received so much applause. I think the whole band and I were moved to tears, and it was such a special occasion. It was just a magical moment in my life to see someone you love so much receive such recognition. And you know, I had a great time with John for 2 years, and this is one of the highlights of my life and my career. How sweet of you, John. Robert Plant and Stevie Nicks, 2007. In an interview in 1977, Plant expressed a desire to record something with Stevie Nicks, but so that she would not lead the song, but would be on backing vocals. But that's where it all got stuck. Either the offer wasn't very welcoming and tempting on his part, or it wasn't very formal, but there was no follow-up. It's a pity, knowing that both of them go into mythology, fiction, history, and other worlds when writing songs. It would be interesting to hear what they would create. This interview was given a long time ago, and after a while Robert and Stevie met in a normal way and communicate well to this day. Stevie Nicks and George Harrison. Both Nicks and Harrison like to stay up late. She just went to bed in the morning, and he poked around in his garden. And so, once they found themselves together at the Warner Brothers music industry in 1977 in Mexico, they met at night, and from that moment on, their strong friendship began. Nick said he was handsome, cheerful, and funny. Everyone from the Beatles has something special, so attractive and easy to communicate with. But with Harrison, you know, if you've known him for even 15 minutes, it feels like you've known him for a very long time. That day, they talked about many things in life, and one of them was popularity. At that time, I was famous for so little. Even less than 3 years, we talked with George about what it means to be famous, how to behave, etc. During one of the subsequent musical night parties, George and Stevie, we decided to mess around a bit and compose something together. They started working on a kind of sequel to the wonderful Here Comes the Sun, Here Comes the Moon. We were just hanging out, relaxing, laughing, writing, singing, and talking, recalls Nicks. This platonic, probably, relationship, which originated in Mexico, became so important to Stevie Nicks that she still continues to carry a photo of George Harrison with her every time she tours. She says, "There are many evenings when you don't have the energy, when you get tired and don't want to go on stage at all, you don't want to do anything. But I look at his photo and say to myself, well, you just have to, because it's important to make people happy." Unfortunately, this couple has never officially released anything together. But at least there are these warm pictures. If you love vintage photographs and want to immerse yourself in the atmosphere of the past, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here you will find unique snapshots, interesting stories, and captivating facts about celebrities and events that have left their mark in history. Support us with a like so we can continue sharing this amazing collection with you.